Welcome to Down to the Studs, my podcast. I'm your host, Brett Stein, real estate agent. And for the third time, this is not a real estate podcast. This is a people podcast. And I am beyond excited to have another podcast rookie on the show. Her first time ever. So we've got to shake out the nerves. Unique New York. Get our vocal cords ready. Maya Azouri from CatchCorner. So many unbelievable things you have going on. We've been friends for a long time. You've got this company now. We've got your hats, which once, I'm comfortable enough with the way my hair looks and everybody sees it, I will put a hat on. Tell us about CatchCorner. Tell us about how you got here. And again, thanks for coming all the way from New York.
First of all, I've known Brett a really long time. This is a nervous and exciting moment for me. I'm an avid podcast listener, and it's like one of those dreams to do something like this, share a story like this, and best of all, with someone that I've known forever. So thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
No, thank you so much. And I will say that Maya said to me, I'm coming home from New York Monday, make it happen.
I was only here for a day, so we were on a time crunch.
And we made it work, and thanks for coming. And like you said, we have known each other for a long time. I remember when you were getting your real estate license.
That is true. That was a moment in the story. I almost forgot, but no, that was kind of when we were at the same point in our real estate career,
right?
And I think we veered into different directions there.
I saw Azouri Stein Real Estate. It was the whole plan.
It's a dream. It might still come to light one day.
Yeah.
But no, you went on to do that full time and be amazing at what you do.
Thank you.
And I guess I'll share a little bit about how I went on to do CatchCorner and all the milestones that we've hit with that and where we're at.
And it's been unbelievable to follow. So tell us kind of from the beginning, start from the beginning, you went to McGill, right?
I did.
Start from there and take us through to kind of where you are now.
Okay, great. So started in Toronto, homegrown here. That's how Brett and I know each other. I went to McGill directly after high school, and I did my Bachelor of Commerce there. Mostly in finance and in information systems, none of which really led me to what I wanted to do afterwards. But like many people, you don't really know the route you're going to take. And after McGill, I should say before I had graduated, I did a summer project with my brother, which I guess you could qualify as my first entrepreneurship experience. Right. It was called the Data Miner. It was a 2.5-month thing where we essentially wanted to take qualitative data for companies through sentiment analysis, create that into quantitative information. The idea was there. I think that was the first time we learned just how much you have to stick to something in order to make it work. And given that we were doing it for a matter of 2 months, it wasn't exactly going to be our next big idea or what we were going to go ahead with. But that was the first time I really saw doing something on your own, there's no one there to be like, go and do it or to discipline you around it. It really takes your own discipline to do that. So kind of planted, I guess, that entrepreneur seed.
And right away, I can just say that qualitative, quantitative calculus, you're way smarter than I am. So I'm trying to follow along here. But obviously, like I talked a little bit on the last episode with Jordan, how she, went to fashion school to figure out that she didn't like fashion, but I'm sure she learned things from those programs that helped her through kind of to where she actually ended up going, which is really similar to me, whether it was school, even though I didn't go for very long, whether it was odd jobs that I worked, I picked up a lot of things from a lot of different places. So like you getting that degree and even though it maybe wasn't what was going to be the rest of your future, I'm sure that helped you with what you're doing now, right?
I agree completely. I think a big part of school is to learn how to learn, not so much to learn exactly what you want to do and to stick to that exact degree. So similar to what you're saying entirely, I think you're learning how to create something and how to be intrigued by things, how to kind of go forward with it rather than the textbook equations and all of that.
Right. And I'll let you get back into your story, but I love interrupting. That's what I do. And you mentioned right away kind of the entrepreneurial spirit. Like, did you always kind of think you had that? Like even through high school, did you ever think you were going to be working a 9 to 5?
I did actually. I did think I mean maybe not I did. I didn't think about it. I guess it seems like the most natural approach. I think you don't dream of like let me start my own thing right away. You kind of dream of one day being in a big leadership role or something like that. So I don't think I really thought it through in the sense of the second I'm done with McGill, I'm starting my own thing and I don't want to work a 9 to 5. I think it's one of those things, it just happened and all of a sudden one day you're like, I guess I'm going with this because
Right.
this is where we ended up. So um I mean it's a great tale of how it came to be, but it was never like the second I'm done with McGill, that's the plan.
Right,
It
right.
more so
So
happened.
you're at McGill, you're doing this summer project
Correct.
on whatever it is that you just said that I didn't understand.
It's not relevant.
And then, take us what happened from there.
Okay, so what happens from there is really just we see this entrepreneurship quality that we both, my brother who I work with and our other co-founder, which I'll get to, but who we both sorry, that we both enjoy. And I'm back at McGill, don't really think much about it. And then I'm close to graduating McGill, and at that point I'm thinking, as you said, am I going into a 9 to 5? Am I recruiting? Am I interviewing? What's the case?
Am I going to be a
And
realtor?
am I going to be a realtor? And that was really in the mix, right? I was really in it with
For
you,
sure.
doing the exams, everything. And one of the things that kind of started to become a conversation with my two co-founders, Jonathan and Ryan, was this idea we had. We wanted to essentially recreate recreation, slogan right there,
Yeah.
but recreate recreation. It wasn't so easy to find a space to just book. It sounds like why is the industry so backwards with recreation and booking sport facilities and
For
things
sure.
like that, especially when in other industries you can get a reservation online in 2 seconds, right? So I think there was an element there that we felt was missing. I will tell you the idea for CatchCorner sparked that way, but it changed a million times. It bended, molded,
Right.
whatever the case is to get to where we are. But the humble beginnings, I will say, were really, really sitting down with my brother, Jonathan, our friend, Ryan, the three of us kind of wanting to go ahead with this thing. And we co-founded CatchCorner.
CatchCorner. As you see on the hats that I hope you're going to let me keep one of them.
They're both yours.
Okay, great. Amazing. Always gifts. I'm getting gifts on this show all the time. It's amazing. And I'm not, everyone kind of has their qualities that makes them them and that makes them good at what they do. I'm not really an ideas guy. I'm more of like an execution guy.
Yeah. Equally as
and kind of
important,
like
if not more.
manager in some sort of way rather than like, oh, this, I'm going to come up with the next best idea. Like I know that's not me. So I don't waste my time trying to do that. But I can imagine that the first step in that process is finding the problem, right? And I know from, playing sports and from, trying to book ice with my buddies or trying to go to the basketball courts and play. And we're like driving all over the city trying to find basketball courts that we can go and actually, and then we get to the basketball court and there's no rims or something. You know what I mean? Like it was so, and to be in whatever it was, 2015, 2016, 2017, and not know where we can go play basketball or go play hockey. It's absolutely bananas. Our good friend Justin Lannis, who was just in New York with us a couple weeks ago, he jokes like, "Oh, I had that idea." Yeah, everybody had that idea. Nobody could execute it because it's logical, right? We need an easy space to be able to book ice, book basketball, book, whether it's with rec teams or whatever it is, right? So, and here comes CatchCorner. And the first time that I saw like your signage was in Forest Hill Arena. Correct. And it was like powered by CatchCorner, and it was so cool. And every time we went in there to play, we thought of you and how successful you had brought in it. And now you're at a point where you've changed it from small arenas in Toronto to the big time. So kind of tell us about that transition. Or I guess first tell us about how you got into the smaller like arenas, courts, whatever. And it started all in Toronto?
All in Toronto.
Okay. So, and what was your first facility?
Okay, so I'll just give background of what CatchCorner is,
Yeah,
although I think you did a great job
I
explaining.
tried.
No, it was great. So essentially, for anyone that doesn't know, which I'm sure a lot of your viewers might or might not, CatchCorner is a mobile and web experience for booking spots at facilities. So renting out a basketball court, hockey rinks, etc. Anything that you're looking to play, it's really a hub-like experience in order to browse through what's available, look at availability at our affiliate facilities, book it, split it. It's really a seamless and elevated experience to do that, which, as Brett was saying, was really lacking in the market. It started out as something that we kind of wanted to start it out to book at our neighborhood arenas, as you
Right.
said, Forest Hill Arena. That's a neighborhood arena that we were thrilled to be working with. We are thrilled to be working with, but it really did grow, and we saw that it wasn't just us having this issue in our kind of day to day with booking sport facilities, or as you said, with your group of friends. It was really everyone, and that's, as you said, why it scaled from these smaller facilities to these larger facilities that are also experiencing the
Right.
same
And
issues.
it's also like convenience. Like, I mean, everything in the world right now is just seemingly to make our lives easier, right? To make sure that we can like sit down on our ass for longer and not have to go actually go do something. Um, and you know, it's like when you look at taking back taxis in high school versus splitting rides in Uber right now, right? Like when we used to go to the arena and it's like, okay, guys, it's $120 and there's like 10 of us. It's like,
Yeah.
how much is that per person? And we're like, guys are giving quarters and toonies, and we're like, what
Totally.
do we do with this? And it was just, it was almost like a world ago, and now here comes Catch Corner to save the day. Um, Catch Corner. How I know there's a story behind the name. Tell us about that.
I guess, yeah, there's a story behind the name. Essentially, we were going to start out as Catch Court. That was the first name that came to be. My little brother kind of sparked the idea for that originally, and we did not want to label ourselves as Catch Court because the goal and what we're trying to do here is to be able to book everything. So whether
Right.
it's, as I said, ice rinks, but also getting into birthday parties, corporate events, certain things that we're going into. We wanted it to sort of be a corner to do all things recreation.
Right.
So a little bit of an alliteration there that we liked, and we went with that. But it was really originally catch court, and that became Catch
Catch
Corner, I
Corner,
would say.
which is super cool because you obviously had the foresight to see where you wanted it to grow to. Where, and again, I think on this podcast I'm going to always reference past conversations because
Absolutely.
Jordan, she's
I
awesome,
love Jordan.
and she was talking a little bit about that, about how kind of foreseeing what the next step would be and planning for that now. And we were talking about how a lot of people who are starting these small businesses, they start with the small ideas and they're happy to keep them small. So it seems like right from the beginning you're like, okay, we might be starting at Larry Grossman Forest Hill Arena, but
Absolutely.
someday we want to be huge, right? And to have those aspirations, like what, and obviously there's a lot of risk that comes along with that. Is there, like, what do you think that it is, like, inside you that you know you're thinking big rather than just like thinking what most people say, realistic? Keep it realistic.
I think in one sense, I think it's a really good question. I think it's difficult because sometimes it's hard to pinpoint what that could be. But I really do think it's more so staying small but thinking big, as you said. So thinking about where this can go to, but also understanding that to get there, every single day is going to be a small little battle on the way, right? So I think it's more so, not to say that it was such a given to work with the small facilities in Toronto. It wasn't. It's a reluctant process to teach people change, or not even to teach people, I should say, to show them why this fits so easily with what they're already doing,
Right.
rather than to show like this disrupts the whole industry. It doesn't really. I mean, we've seen in other markets how easily it works and how great it works. So I think this is more so to catch people's attention to catch people's attention, in order to show them kind of the big goal, but in really small steps, similar to what we're saying. So have this big dream, but also understand that that can only be achieved by the little steps day to day and remaining the underdog in all of it and not getting
Right.
too ahead of yourself,
Right.
right?
And that's kind of like what I wanted to get at, the underdog, right? Like I've always felt like that myself. And, I think I could easily decide that, oh, I just kind of want to be average and, I don't want to take risks and I don't want to drop out of school and I don't want to go try and go play football somewhere and break my collarbone and be an idiot. But I decided against that. I decided to kind of go with the risk and go with opportunities that came up. And I think that separates a lot of people, right? Because Maya Azouri, on one hand, you could have said, oh, well, this is going to be too difficult. What are the actual chances that we're actually going to be able to get these facilities? It's not realistic. How many people are trying to do this right now? Everyone's trying to develop an app. Oh my God. And I mean, your percentage of being successful if you don't try is zero, right?
Correct.
So, and the amount of people, like I always look at it, I talk about this with real estate agents all the time, people who are trying to get into the business, like you have this whole pool of people in the world. And how many of those people are actually trying to be exceptional? Not a lot, right? A lot of people are satisfied with, you know, not taking those risks, which is completely fine because maybe they flourish in other areas. For me, it's always been, I've always had a motivation to try and exceed my own expectations of
You do
myself.
a really good job of it also.
Thank you. And obviously you have as well. And that kind of takes me to the next part. I know we're skipping along, so if I miss anything about the journey and whatever, just jump in and interrupt me. But Forest Hill Arena, and now, I mean, I don't remember how long ago it was, but I saw the press release for Sports Illustrated.
Correct.
Used to be my favorite magazine of all time. I had every issue.
I'm sure.
So cool. Tell us how that came to fruition and what that means for the future.
Okay, thank you, by the way, for introducing that. But so starting out, smaller arenas, as you said, that in itself was a challenge. So you're calling up facilities, you're showing them a product that just launched or just finished being developed, or it's never finished, but you're kind of showing them something. And that in itself, I can tell you, just based on you saying about taking risks here, I've gotten so used to kind of getting yelled at on the phone. No, we're not interested. No. I mean, it's grown to be something, especially in the Toronto market, that facilities know. So it's not as difficult as it was to start out, but especially when it was something that no one knew, that's kind of, that was a big challenge. So getting facilities to even take your call or take your meeting or demo. So that's kind of the smaller aspect of it. We grew with those facilities. We love the facilities we work with. I think one thing with CatchCorner is that we really have a personal connection with every facility we work with. A lot of those to date have been inbound cold call. Well, started out as us calling them, but once we were present in facilities, a lot of that has been inbound in Toronto, where facilities see you in other facilities, and there's kind of a domino effect through that.
Right.
And the thing is, the platform works even better the more facilities that we have. So we're so excited that we're being contacted by them. And then going to the Sports Illustrated aspect of the question, I think we created a model in Toronto that we love and that we saw really works. Facilities love it. As you said, sometimes you're kind of like, is someone else doing this? And one thing that we really noticed is there are so many little aspects that have to be checked off in a product in order for it to work on such a big scale. So the fear of that definitely diminished, and it more so showed us you can do this small, you can do this medium sized, and then you can do this for larger facilities, companies, whatever the case, organizations, whatever the case is there. So I would say our conversations with Sports Illustrated started 2020, which was a great year for us all.
Right.
But it started in 2020. We were so excited. I mean, you're saying Sports Illustrated is your favorite magazine. For us, Sports Illustrated was the most credible and trusted name in sports. I mean, like we're kind of going from facilities that we know and love to all of a sudden being in talks and giving demos and everything for Sports Illustrated. And there's a lot of details about that partnership that I can and can't get into, but there are many, many exciting things on the horizon with them. I mean, we're thrilled to be working with them, and we're really excited. I think
Right.
it's
Well, that's so like this business that you created, that you and John and your other
Ryan.
and Ryan created, and that's so cool. First of all, just working with family. I mean, I do it myself. I work with my sister-in-law. She's part of the team, and there are struggles to that, and there are amazing things to that. Has it been like super easy, no issues, or like the
Normal, very
completely
normal for it
normal?
not to be super easy. I mean, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But how's it been like for you
Oh, for
personally?
me, I was
Yeah,
gonna say for
like
you.
you and your brother. Like, are you guys butting heads like with certain ideas? How does
So
that work?
So I would say the best thing about working with my brother is that we're very, very similar in our ideologies, but we have separate or complementary skill sets in the sense that there are things that I love that I know Jonathan doesn't even want to take part in whatsoever, and vice versa. His attention to detail in certain things that I'm like, did the color even change? And he's like, this is so different than
Right.
this, right? So I think having that difference in personality also has helped us. Was it easy right away? Definitely not, because we're together 24/7. We're in the same office. We're under the same roof in my parents' house. So there's definitely clashes there where you're like, what's the separation between work and life kind of hours? When are we siblings and when are we coworkers, right? So
Right.
that definitely comes into play. But I would say that you gotta work with someone that you can trust with your eyes closed. And I think, as you said, you do it, there's challenges to it, but there's something that you can't kind of replicate otherwise, because you know that there's someone there that's in the trenches with you, but also there for the big milestones, and
100%. And
and
I, like you said, trust.
reliable.
Like trust is the most important thing in the world, and like it's a little bit more on a smaller scale. But building a real estate team and working with certain people, you have to be able to blindly trust these people to carry on your brand the same way that you would. And I'm sure some companies, when someone comes up with an idea, they try to do it all on their own, and they hire people. But when you hire employees, obviously they don't have the same kind of dedication to your brand and what you're trying to do. But I mean, your family, like your brother and sister, you guys are, blood, gonna do whatever it takes for this brand and for Catch Corner to, make it into what it is today and beyond. I mean, and then you mentioned, you're talking about being scalable. Like this platform is so scalable to be able to grow everywhere. And so I guess, like, is there a lot of people when they do create businesses, and again, I'm not an expert, but there's some people have in the back of their minds the exit. Like, is there an exit, and then are we going to start something else? Like the serial entrepreneur who's starting one business, selling it, starting another business, selling it. Is that something that's maybe in the back of your head, or is this kind of a long term you want to be doing, working with Catch Corner for the rest of your life?
So I would say you never, although they say it's good to know the exit in some, or know the exit strategy, there are numerous exit strategies, and there may be somewhere in the back of my mind, but as I said, I think it's a day-to-day focusing on growing the business. Even with the milestones we've hit, there's so much more to go. So I see it being that I'm staying with Catch Corner. I love the company, and I think there's so much more for us to do. We haven't even kind of scratched the surface. So while it's nice to think of an exit strategy, I think it's really more so thinking of building the business into the vision that we have, and then I guess seeing where things go. And it kind of matches your question of how did Sports Illustrated come to be? How did some of these other milestones come to be? It really comes to be by focusing on the product and our team and on facilities, and then something comes out of left field that
Right.
changes the whole. I mean, you know it. It's you plan and that's great, but then something comes up and you're like, we're changing the strategy
No,
today,
a hundred
tomorrow.
percent. And to that point, and I we talk about this on our team all the time, how you can't operate on a transactional basis. Like, you can't go to a meeting where you're going to list somebody's house and then all you're thinking about is dollar signs and how am I going to do this deal. You have to be thinking about how am I going to do an amazing job for this person. And then
So
everything
true.
else will fall into place, right? So if you're just worried about doing good work and being dedicated to your craft and waking up and being the best that you can be at what you do, especially in a service industry where you don't want to let the customer down, I think everything else will fall into place. And I maybe a lot of these other companies are thinking about the exit strategy, and they're thinking about how can we get rich quick rather than focusing on the quality, right?
Absolutely. And I think it's kind of as you said about keeping customers happy. No, I don't want to discount any facilities from what you're saying about small or big. I think one thing that we pride ourselves on is every single facility is our biggest client, essentially.
Right.
So we don't kind of just differentiate in that way, but more so it's exciting for us to work with different size facilities. It's exciting for us to work with maybe more of a mom and pop style facility. We also work with Canland Sports, which is a publicly traded company. So I'm saying there's really that spectrum, but this excitement of kind of fulfilling the needs of your clients is there regardless. And I think that's the main thing to focus on, the
Right.
product and then it goes where it goes is kind of
100%.
the mantra.
You lay the groundwork, and if you build it, they will come.
Right.
And then, so now you are living in New York, to get off topic a little bit. And how did that come about? When did you move there? The city that never sleeps, one of the best cities in the absolute world. Yeah, how did you end up in New York?
So I ended up in New York, I want to say a few months before COVID hit, global pandemic, not the best time to be in a new place. But right before then, I think I grasped a little bit of New York life and how much I loved it. I should just mention, CatchCorner based, we just launched in Chicago and Vancouver and a few other markets. New York City's our next market. So it was a little bit early for aligning with work, but I had left during the pandemic. I had come back 2, 3 months ago. And at this point, really, it works with our partnerships, it works with some of our investors, and also with New York being our next on the horizon.
Yeah, and I mean, nowhere better to be. It's basically the hub of North America. Again, like I said, the best city in the world, probably, in terms of maybe not in the world, but in North America. I mean, I'm biased because we were just there.
Right.
I was just there. It was your birthday.
It was.
And we had some celebrations. We had some good times, and saw your condo, which is unbelievable. And so yes, for work, it's good to be there. It's a great hub, but at the same time, it's New York, and you're having an unbelievable time there. And so why? Do you see yourself coming back to Toronto, or do you see New York like long term?
Most difficult question you've asked me so far, Brett. I guess, can I pass?
Can you pass? Okay.
I'm not sure. I mean, my parents are probably going to watch and be like, she's coming back to Toronto.
You're coming back. You're coming back for sure.
I love Toronto, though. I love New York. So
and you'll always visit New York. And
it's a good problem to have. Two amazing cities to choose from.
100%. And do you see yourself being, maybe the part of the team that's going to the cities? And like you're saying, you're now in Chicago, you're in Vancouver, you're going to be opening up in New York. Can you see yourself traveling and doing all that stuff?
I actually love this question because I think when you start your own thing, there's kind of a misconception that as you hire people, certain things are not my task, someone else will do it. I think when you're we're now a team of 20, but to Amazing. Your question, every single task in this company I'm aware of. A lot of the times, even if it's not my role, I do. So I think that's kind of, to answer your question, if that's my home base right now and we're launching in the city, even something that might not necessarily be my role essentially, that's something that I'm going to kind of get on the ground and do. And I think that goes for everyone in our company. We kind of have a culture where you have a role, but you also
hands-on, boots on the ground.
Absolutely.
Taking initiative, not having like a set job description, right? Going above and beyond, which I guess are all traits of being an entrepreneur, because you don't know what the next step's going to be. You don't know what the next piece of growth is going to be. And like you say, you have plans and then nobody cares about those plans and you have to readjust. So I'll go into a couple questions just in terms of from where you started to where you are now. What was the biggest struggle through this whole process?
That's a really good question.
Or one of them. or
no.
What it could be mentally, it could be actually physically with the business, whatever you want to say.
So I guess on both of those ends, mentally, there's something very challenging at the beginning before you're launched of working day after day, every hour of the day on something so intangible. So at the very beginning, you're like, we're not launched. We don't have facilities on board. We have an idea that we're executing, but is anyone going to really like it as much as we like it, right? So you're not really seeing you're not seeing these achievements in front of you, and you're not seeing your product grow. You're not seeing anything physical there. Clients, feedback, anything like that. It's not there. So mentally at the beginning, you're kind of like, is what I'm doing important? I don't know if anyone's going to like this.
And you
I
have
don't
no
know.
idea.
I have no idea, right? Like I don't even know the exact launch date because naturally things get pushed and more things come up. So mentally at the beginning, that was difficult. I think once we launched and we're a product and we're talking to real people at facilities, there's something that kind of put that all to rest where you're like, not even okay, great, everyone likes it because you don't know that you continue, but I think there's an aspect where that gets put to rest. You're like, something really exists in front of me, right? And then I would say physically, or I guess yeah, for the company, COVID was a huge struggle. I mean,
right.
Our facilities, as I told you, we have kind of personal relationships with all the facilities we work with. All of them were closed in Toronto during COVID. That was a long time for facilities here. Our customers are kind of live chatting, emailing when our facility's opening, and everything's sort of on
right.
government protocols.
And you don't have the answers for that.
We don't have the answers. Our facilities don't have the answers. It's also, every business got hit by it, but it's really a hard thing to be paying rent when no one's coming to book at the facility or no one can be. So a lot of struggles around that where our facilities, our clients, but also for us, when are things going to be back up live? There were so many times where it was like 28 days, and you're kind of marking your calendar every single day, like one day closer to
right.
it opening. And unfortunately, it got extended, but we're really happy that kind of subsided this summer where facilities were able to accept bookings again and have
right.
people come out and play, which is the best part.
Well, that's so cool because, I feel like I took that for granted, like with COVID and everything. I'm in an industry which we got very lucky that things heated up with COVID, right? And the demand was sky high. So, if you're a real estate agent in COVID, and you were working with a bunch of clients, you had the potential of doing really well in that time period. Whereas with your business, like your business is sports facilities and nobody is playing sports at all. And nobody's booking facilities at all. But meanwhile, we're still in COVID. We're hearing about another variant, whatever's going on, but you're still growing and you're still getting people to come on board and trust you and trust your brand and trust what you're trying to do. Like that seems like unbelievably difficult. How did you get through that time period where nobody was booking and you literally had no business?
So very difficult time period. Also, as I said, we're connected to our facility, so that was hard for us too, right? We kind of see the consequences of what's going on for them. We're kind of planning out the rollout of when things do open. A big thing that we focused on is putting in COVID measures and different documentation, uploading things so that facilities would have a very easy transition with their online booking and CatchCorner kind of bookings when things were open. So we were really focusing on how can we make this a part of the experience if it has to be, so that everyone could book safely moving forward once restrictions ease. A big thing of that is like the capacity at the facility. That changes day to day. That, I mean, with the restrictions here. So that's something that we built into the product. But in general, we were focusing a ton on the product itself, growing the product even beyond that. The iterations are always there, partnerships. We actually last week launched with the town of Newmarket, which was a little delayed from where we were meant to launch with them due to COVID, but we're happy that that got released, and we're so excited to be working with them.
So what exactly is that? Can you?
Yes, so I'll touch on that. So a lot of the facilities that we work with, as I said, they can be different in size, but some of them are private facilities, so privately owned. And with the town of Newmarket, that's a municipal body, and they have facilities. So basketball, gyms, ice hockey is initially what we launched with them, and they wanted us to power their different facilities, both through the CatchCorner app, where you can already find their availability, shameless promo,
right?
But also through their online booking. So if you go to the town of Newmarket's website, you can definitely book availability powered by CatchCorner, their online booking experience, just for them on their website. And that was something that was meant to launch, I would say, early 2021, and launched last week. We're in the last month of 2021, and a big reason is because their facilities have been closed until the end of the summer, right? So things got pushed. I guess we pushed through, as did our facilities, as did our clients, and we can't take all the credit for things kind of working out as we kind of are in this a little bit more open environment where people can book finally, because I think people really, our clients and our customers stuck with it, and everyone's itching to go out there and do something fun. I mean, COVID was such a long, dragged out period of time, and we're still seeing, as you said, new variants. So just making sure that there was a safe channel for people to be able to do that.
Right. And again, it's absolutely unbelievable to see what you're doing. And every time I see something on LinkedIn or whatever, it's, just so cool to, read about and talk about, and people are talking about it. And again, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have this podcast, was because we see the CatchCorner news release, right? But who is Maya Azouri? What were her struggles? Like, was this easy? I mean, so many people have said to me, oh, like, right place, right time. You must have got lucky. That's why you're, a decently successful real estate agent. It's like, you don't understand.
Successful.
Yeah, thank you. You don't understand the struggles and the no's. Like you said, something that really resonated with me that you said was, how many no's, or how many people were yelling at you on the phone. You're trying to get a facility on board. It's like, I used to work. Quick story. Right before I got into real estate, I was selling charity on the street, and I was holding a little iPad at like the corner of Bloor and wherever, and Young and Bloor, and I was saying, "Do you want to buy charity? Do you want to donate to charity? Save the children, save the children." And literally 1,000, like 100 to multiple hundred no's a day.
Sometimes they don't even look at
you. Oh, I'm
you.
getting the finger. I'm getting people like threatening to punch me in the face to stop bothering them. But it's like, I learned so much from those no's. And, you have those conversations and you see the objections that people have. And then you have two ways to go. Either you go down and you get down about it, and, you're upset about the way things are going, and or you learn from it, right? And you grow from it. And like, I'm sure you had a lot of those calls that people were just not on board, resistant to change.
Some of our clients today, it's kind of like we would start out calling them, hey, blah, blah, like give the pitch, and no, until they contacted us, hey, we actually saw you in another facility. We're at the point where we're like grabbing lunch together, talking to them about CatchCorner. They're on board as our client, and it's all in the past, and it's part of it. It's the first time you hear it, you're like, oh my God, someone's so disinterested in what I'm doing. And then you get used to it, in the sense that it's not the same way I'm busy in my day-to-day and in my job. If someone called me out of nowhere, I might not understand what something is. I might not take it in entirely. So no one takes it personally. Like, that's okay. It's more, absolutely.
And a lot of people do, right? And that's the issue. So that's a huge thing to have as an entrepreneur, as somebody starting a company, is, taking the negatives and trying to turn them into a positive. So, and obviously you've done that incredibly well. Um, any like crazy stories that like, everybody has some sort of story, or whether it was a success story or, like you said, with one certain company, like, well, Canlan, like, they're massive. There must have been some sort of story behind that. How did you get involved there?
So Canlan Sports is one of our clients. We got involved with them honestly by originally cold calling them, and
I got to
we
start cold calling.
cold calling. I swear, I don't get nervous for many things, and I don't take it personally, but I'm like practicing in my head. I'm like, say this, and then you get on the phone, and it just kind of it happens naturally. But originally we called them, we had spoken to them. They invited us in for a meeting just to kind of hear about our online booking experience, and we had spoken to them a little bit at the beginning. I think at the beginning we gave the presentation a few times because we were talking to one person and then another person, and they're kind of a big operation. And then we signed them on as our client, and it went from there. There was no so crazy story, but I guess the crazy beginning is we really reached out to them as
a cold call.
Yeah,
and you hear so many cool
Hi,
stories like
Maya.
that. Yeah, yeah. I won't tell you to give us your pitch.
No.
But no, this has been awesome, and again, flying in for the podcast, Maya Azouri.
I'm so honored to be here.
Yeah, and I'm honored to have you, honestly, and I'm so excited for you and for the future, and to watch along and to see you guys grow. And thank you for the hats. I gotta try and put one on. Perfect. How does it look, folks? It looks great.
I love it.
It looks great. And
just like that.
Listen, if you ever decide that CatchCorner is going well, and maybe you want to get back into real estate,
I knew where this was going,
and you want to come work for the Stein Realty Group, no problem.
This is not a real estate podcast, by the way, right?
No, it's not. It's a people podcast, okay. Actually, and where we have real people, just like Maya Azouri. CatchCorner by Sports Illustrated. That's just so fucking cool to say, and it must be cool to hear and to see for you. Like, unbelievable.
Step by step. Yeah, we're excited.
Step by step, brick by brick.
Yes.
Maya Azouri, thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
And CatchCorner, you know where to find them. It's in the App Store. Whether you have a facility, whether you're someone just looking to play some pickup hockey, CatchCorner by Sports Illustrated, by Maya Azouri.
No, by our whole team.
By the whole team. And
thank you, though.
This has been Down to the Studs. Thank you, Maya.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Sayonara.